Hey everybody, welcome into the Gen Z Now call. We're going to let everybody get a chance to hop on, get their bearings, turn their cameras, turn their microphones off, and get settled. Boom. Okay. All right. Hi everyone, my name is Channing Hill. I'm a Gen Z organizer and activist with the Youth Never Let Up Coalition. We are here tonight because we have witnessed a huge political shift happen in our country. We have witnessed huge political angst and frustration amongst the young people. We've listened and watched and heard our own voices become ignored and almost silenced and on the issues that we care about. Because young people are literally going to save America. Because I don't know if it's just me or anybody else, but if you can't operate an email, you can't tell me who should be president, who should be what plants should be legal or illegal, and how our police officers should be trained or not trained. It's really up to us to make sure that we steward our society in the right direction, and we have to come together to do so. So again, for all of the new people hi, my name is Channing Hill. I'm a youth organizer with Youth Never Let Up Coalition. I'm here tonight working with Until Freedom, NAACP, Rise, Young Democrats of America, College Democrats of America, Better Futures for America, a number of these organizations. We have all come together to try and activate and organize. So I'm going to allow Angelo, my co-host, to introduce himself, and then we're going to get right into our discussion.
Thank you, Channing. I appreciate it. So my name is Angelo Pinto. I'm attorney, activist, professor. I'm one of the co-founders of Until Freedom as well, who is co-sponsoring this conversation. And really, I just want to be brief. I mean, I think Until Freedom and for myself, one of the reasons we felt like this was important is because we know not only are the youth usually at the forefront of every movement, the youth have been very vocal in the past year raising visibility about Palestine and a variety of issues that we know have shifted the political landscape in this moment. And one of the things that we think is critically important is not to lose that momentum, particularly as we head to an election. And young people will play a critical role in this election. And there's a number of young people and youth organizations that we're connected to, and we wanted to play our part in convening and holding space for those conversations and for movement building to happen and for the youth voice to emerge in this moment, because oftentimes youth are doing the work. And as we get to the critical moments, youth voice are silent. And we wanted to make sure that didn't happen. So for those of you who are joining, we're going to have a conversation tonight, and we hope this is one of many conversations as we build to really a mass gathering of young people prior to the upcoming election, as well as broadening our coalition. So if you're a member of an organization and you like what you hear, if you're looking for a collective to be a part of, we hope you consider us and join our coalition. And also a big piece of what we're doing and kind of in process of doing is building out our agenda. One of the things that we believe is critically important in this moment is to really say, not only does our voice matter, does youth voice matter, but we also have a particular agenda that we want to see happen. And this is what the agenda looks like. This is the voice of young people, and this is how we want to see the country move. So with that said, we are going to move to the next phase of the program, which is a panel with some youth voices. And I believe Channing's going to come back on and co-host, moderate the panel. And Channing, I don't know if you want to introduce some of the panelists as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have a wonderful panel for you guys prepared. We're going to start and let each panelist introduce themselves. We have to truly start with one of the youngest mayors elected in our country, its history. Like mayor at 18, that was amazing. So, Mr. Mayor Jalen Smith, if you could hop on, introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, and I'm honored to be here, be on the call tonight with you all. I am the mayor of Earl, Arkansas, a population of 2,000, recently elected back in December of 2022 as the youngest African American mayor in this country, and in fact, in the globe, really. And so I'm just honored to be a part of this amazing Zoom.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to have you here. Can't wait to connect further. And now let's get into my sisters, Deanna and Victoria.
Hey everybody, so happy to be here in community with y'all. My name is Victoria Pinnell, based out of DC. I am an organizer, I'm an abolitionist, I'm an activist, and I'm just incredibly happy to be here with you all. I currently am a social impact advisor with Inspire Justice, constantly working to bring change to our communities, to bring change to this world. And I'm just so happy to be here on a call with a whole bunch of change makers, and we're doing it, y'all. So I'm gonna pass it to my good sis.
Hey y'all, my name is Deanna Burton. I'm excited to be here. I'm also based in DC. I am the National Programs Director of College Democrats of America and the and the Director of SPEAR, showing political engagement and responsibility. Thank you, Channing, for having us.
Thank you guys for being here. Let's go Harrison and then Ruquan.
Hello, everybody. Channing, thank you so much. My name is Harrison Clark, Boston-based. I am the program coordinator for the Boston Community Action Team, which focuses on civic engagement for our young people at teen empowerment in the Boston and Greater Boston area, as well as the co-director of the Repair America Collective. We focus on restorative justice, reparations, abolitionists. I am a staunch advocate for smart healthcare policy, and I'm a patient caregiver and focusing on decentralized clinical trial management.
Period. Period. Thank you so much for being here, Ruquan.
Good evening, beautiful people. My name is Ruquan. I am your favorite revolutionary. I'm also the founder and principal of STS Communications, which is a Gen Z consulting firm bridging the gap between young people and the resources that exist in the world. Happy to be here with you, excited to share space, and super grateful for all the young people that work together to lead this phenomenal event, and excited about the ones that are coming up as well.
And Ty Lee.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tyleek McMillan. I'm professional capacity. I serve as the Youth Coalition Director for the Democratic National Committee, but I'm going to flag I'm here in my personal capacity as a voter, as an activist, as an organizer, as a co-founder of Youth Never Let Up Coalition, and I'm super excited to be in community with everyone to really strategize and organize how we move forward and get young people involved in this moment.
That's beautiful. These are all organizers that I know, for the most part, and some people who I've just become introduced to in the organizing of this call. But it is great to have you all here. And let's all come back on camera and then we can go ahead and get into the panel. That's sorry, guys. They were told to like be off camera when you weren't talking, but like we got it together now. I'll go ahead and I'll get into the first question. Let's not beat around the bush, okay? How do we really feel about the 2024 presidential election? Like, are we scared? Like, are we actually nervous? Like, what it look like, guys?
I guess I can start off with the first question. I am honestly very excited about this election. Honestly, I don't believe in being nervous about the election at all. I believe we have a great candidate running for the Democratic Party for president. I believe that number one, that she will win against her opponent, Donald Trump. I'm very confident in that. The only thing we just have to do is really get people to the polls and understand that this election is at stake. You know, what like the vice president said, what America do we want to live in? Honestly.
I would like to follow that up and say that I'm personally excited. I think the biggest thing that this election is showing us is that there's a huge opportunity here, just with the way that our previous Democratic candidate bowed out of the race, and also made sure to uplift um, a younger voice that, well, relatively younger voice. And I think this is a pattern that we're going to see continued pretty much across the country. I think that us coming together like this is really going to galvanize that change, and we're really going to see more of this sort of thing happening, where candidates are going to step aside and let more of us lead, and we're going to really take that leadership position and put ourselves at the forefront of that.
Um, I think for me, as a Black woman, it's exciting to see somebody, climb to the top of the ticket and really take charge. I mean, she was already there, but really see the country embrace her, from the donations to the coconut emojis and the tweets and the hashtags. It's really energizing. I will say, though, I am concerned because also within the same context of being a Black woman, I often say, like, is the country ready for that? Is the country progressive enough, open-minded enough? Are they willing to let Black women fix it, let Black women lead? So I think, just as excited I am, I'm also nervous. But for me, at least, being nervous just means we got to get to work. It means we got to mobilize, we got to strategize, and hence this call and the gazillion other calls happening. So we're already in the right space, and the time is now, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I think we are in a pivotal point. And I mean, I feel like these days, every election is a pivotal point in this country. But I think we are at a pivotal point, and I am excited because young people have always been at the forefront of revolutions, have always been at the forefront of change. But I'm also nervous because I recognize, like you said, that we do have a Black woman running. And unfortunately, what that means is that we're going to have a lot of people who are white supremacists, who believe in systems of oppression. We are going to have a lot of people who are spewing hate and misogynoir and racism, and they're going to try to cover that with political rhetoric. And so I'm scared and I'm worried for the candidates' well-being. However, I'm excited because I think young people are stepping up to the plate. I think this is a time where young people are not afraid and are unapologetic in their beliefs. And I'm really, really excited to see what that's going to look like over the next couple of months.
And to piggyback off of Vic real quick, she's right. Young people have been doing this. I know for the most part, some of the panelists I have had the pleasure to work with, y'all ain't new to this. Y'all are true to this. We have stayed in the streets. We have stayed up long, long, long hours of the evening drafting up statements and making graphics. I think the difference is, technology. Regardless of what's going on with TikTok, policy-wise, TikTok has connected us. Instagram has mobilized us, and these group chats are popping. Like, we're doing it for sure. So energized is the word. I think that should be the theme.
Absolutely.
What is that, Shannon?
Oh.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to hear energized. I'm happy to hear empowered. I'm happy to hear inspired, because I don't feel scared, and we don't feel scared because we walk in love. And in walking in love, we sort of have an opportunity to look back at what our ancestors have endured and be reminded that the dilemma that we're facing, I don't think is much is any more difficult than the dilemmas that our ancestors have faced. And so when we think about love, I'm able to, and we are able to call on that history to be empowered enough to step up in this moment, like you all have said already, to win. And that isn't just the election per se, but just the opportunity at freedom, the opportunity at liberation, the opportunity at opportunity, right? And the opportunity at access to resource, etc. So no fear. There's no need for fear when you have so many millions of people who have stepped up together, put their money where their mouth is, put their feet on the ground at a moment's notice, and stepped up. In fact, it's reminiscent of the history that I described. And we saw our ancestors win so many times. So energized, empowered, inspired are the words that we're choosing to lie on at this time.
And I couldn't agree more. I think y'all always say, I don't believe that John Lewis was beat over the head crossing the Edmunds Pettus Bridge for us to wallow. I don't believe that Martin Luther King was shot down in cold blood on a balcony in Memphis for us to bury our heads. I don't believe that Fannie Lou Hamer did say, "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired," for us to be just to be the head person in charge. But all these things happen for us to be in this place of who we are right now, to really walk in that power of our ancestors, to carry the legacy of our ancestors, to say this moment for us is now. I believe I'm very optimistic. I'm optimistic in the future that we can create. I'm optimistic in the power and the coalitions that we can build. I'm optimistic in just the beauty of this call here tonight, of us coming together to organize and say, like, we're not gonna sit by and just say, "I'm gonna let this slide by." But I find something powerful in this moment to say that we all decided at a moment's notice to come together to say, like, we have to organize because fascism is on the line. We have to organize because disrespect is on the line. We have to organize because racism and homophobia and xenophobia and like all the phobias are on the line for us to be able to step up and do this work. And so I'm excited for it. I'm optimistic for it, and I'm just excited to get to work. I'm excited to do this work, and it's gonna get done by all of us doing it together.
That's beautiful, guys. Thank y'all so much. Y'all really encouraged me because I'm not gonna lie, before we got on this call, and part of my reasoning in organizing this call is because I am scared. I am anxious and nervous because not necessarily in a way that is fearful of the outcome, but I think I'm fearful of our enemy, y'all. Like I think I'm fearful of Project 2025. Like I take Donald Trump very seriously, and I'm very fearful of that MAGA faction. That being said, Angelo, can you see the Q&A? Do you want to do you want to ask the panelists the first question
I do.
from Q&A?
I do see them. So the first question we have coming from Morgan, and the question is, how do we talk to fellow young people to encourage voting for those who are disengaged due to the ongoing genocide in Palestine? So how do we talk to young folks who are currently disengaged in the voting process due to the ongoing genocide in Palestine? That's a question coming from Morgan. Anyone want to take a shot at that?
Yeah, I'm encouraged to inspire Morgan to and really all of us to flip our lens from talking to young people to listening to young people, because young people, spend 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours a day in school, and then they go home. And even before school, they're listening to someone talk to them about what time to get up, and the bus driver about where to sit or where not to sit, and the city about which sidewalk to walk on or which not to, and the people in the cafeteria about what to eat and what not to. So there's always something being said to young people, and it's not often that young people get opportunity to be heard. And so I hope that during this very, very unique voting cycle, young people's voices are centered in the conversation, because when we look at since really October 6th at least, but really since 2018 or 2020, our generation has been awake and our generation has been outside and alive, and we are absolutely capable of making our points clear and even designing strategy to move forward from there. So I hope that we're really, really listening closely to young people so that we have opportunity to create the world that young people are asking for.
I agree with you, brother Brown. To add on to that, here pretty much where my area of like Earl Memphis, we're seeing our young people are number one disengaged, and they just all over the place. And so what I did when I took office, a lot of more young people got involved and more curious to really go to vote here in our area. But particularly with young people in this generation, we live in what's called a microwave society. And as young people, and oftentimes they expect they think that they can put their life in a microwave in 30 seconds and they can be the most greatest person in the United States. But as young people, we have to understand of how our ancestors went through the struggle to get on the other side, not expecting to go through something and we just get the result. And to really encourage young people to really just stump your feet at the table, getting involved, going to meetings, group, the whole 9 yards. Because what I did was I went to city council meeting, quorum court, state legislature, the whole 9 yards, to really understand and really put my voice at the table. Because again, the older generation, what they're trying to do is keep us out the loop, but we have to force ourselves into places that people don't expect us to be. And that's what I do every day and still do that to this day. And understand that you're going to have challenges, obstacles, and distractions, but it's nothing but preparing you for a greater time in your life. And that's what I would say on that part.
I want to jump in and say, Morgan, I absolutely love that question. I think for me, when I think of young people, I'm 21, y'all, so I think I'm young, but I also have a baby brother who's 15, so that I feel like that's different. So collectively, when we're thinking about elections and when we're thinking about these really big issues like Palestine, especially when it's overseas and it feels like you can't do anything, I want you to remember that when October 7th happened, students, college campuses, high schools, organizations, everybody put out a statement, regardless of which side of things you're on. Everybody released a statement. As time went on, more and more people kept posting about it. More and more people used those filters. More and more people made GoFundMe's. More and more people organized. It stayed trending. We're all the way, what is it? It's July, and we are still talking about it. In fact, last night, Kamala Harris called for a ceasefire. Do you know why that happened? It's only because we, what is she gonna do? It's only because, oh, she's saying it's because of her, period. It's because of all of us. It's because of the movements. It's because of the encampments. It's because of the stories, the statements, the hashtags. It's because of the flags that is in everybody's bios. It's because of the people who just went up at the Capitol and protested Netanyahu coming and speaking. It is because we kept it moving. And whether or not elected officials made a statement didn't matter because the collective spoke. More specifically, the students spoke. We had students that were willing to get their degrees stripped from them. We have students that protested at graduation. And y'all, I graduated in high school in 2021, and we still didn't have a full graduation. So graduations, as far as I'm concerned, are sacred because some people didn't even get them. People were ready and willing to throw their ceremonies away, their accomplishments away for people that they have never met, probably will never meet, and to honor those in memory. You make a difference, and you have the power to make a difference just by speaking up. You take it a step further when you vote. Voting isn't a one thing, a one issue thing. Everything is on the ballot. I'm from Florida. Rights on my body are on the ballot. Weed is on the ballot. These elected officials, education is on the ballot. DEI is on the ballot. You make it discouraged because it took so long for somebody to say something, and we're still not yet seeing tangible change. But when you have collective action, and when you have collective voice, the result is inevitable. We're going to see something from it. So I applaud you for asking that question, but I challenge you to take a look at what we have done and what that has translated to now.
Absolutely.
You have something to say?
Girl, you done did it all.
You said that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. You answered that question. We're gonna have to go on to the next one.
Okay, let's do it.
Come on, come on.
I will also just say really super quickly. I will say super quickly. Because I know we're on a time limit. But I will say though, I
know that.
it's not, we aren't just trying to secure justice for this generation. I think we also have to think about future generations. And when I think about what kind of world do I want to see for my kids, I want a world that's free from oppression. I want a world in which I can If I need help with my body, I can get it. I want a world in which my kids will know our history and will know how strong and how much our people fought. And so I think it's not just about us. And I think we have to take ourselves out of it a little bit, because what world do we want to see for our kids? What world do we want to see for our grandkids? If you don't want kids, what world do you want to see for your nieces and nephews? And so I think that's the question that we also have to think about when we're encouraging fellow young people and we're encouraging young adults to get out there to vote. We have to think about what kind of world we want to see for them.
And voting solidifies that world in that future.
Absolutely.
And who will listen? Who will actually listen and resonate
right.
and understand your story? I know a Kamala Harris can resonate and know my experience and know my lived experience. I know if I go outside of her front door and put up some signs that she may listen. She possibly will listen, and it will move her and keep her up and late at night to know that 5,000, 10,000 young people are in the streets calling for X, Y, and Z. Whereas on the other hand, somebody like Trump is in office, probably won't give a damn that you out there. We already saw during 2020, just the fact that we were organizing, saying that we deserve to breathe. We got National Guard called on us. He already said that he's giving police officers qualified immunity. So what does that mean for our public safety? He's already talked about the fact, of being the president of law and order. Like we already see the fact that him talking about stop and frisk. So it's like, who will actually listen? And this vote
And
will
Tyleek,
actually move us forward to that listening state to get what we deserve in this moment.
that's so real. And that's so real. And what brings me to mind when you talk about stop and frisk and talk about heightened police activity and the National Guard. Y'all remember how Sexy Red talking about she voting one way? Like, that don't make no sense to me. That just don't, you like the other way. Like, we have to challenge these narratives that are coming from genuine like sometimes we don't know what the president's office is doing until we get a STEMI check. We have to challenge those narratives post 2020. We have to challenge those narratives post 2021 in the pandemic. We're still in a pandemic and nobody's talking about that. So who is going to acknowledge, like, we've seen what reality is on both sides, and really it's up to the youth to decide who is going to acknowledge their experience. Which brings me to the next question. What issues concern you and other youth the most?
I would say I'm a civil rights kid through and through. I remember when I first got involved, it was because the Voting Rights Act was stripped away. I remember being outside the Supreme Court, and I remember going to my college, and being split between two congressional districts. Like the fact of just the right to vote, and we see the fact that so many bills are saying like you need this ID, you can't take this ID, you need to do this X, Y, and Z. You can't vote early, you can't vote past this day. And so the very fundamental thing that grounds us as a country is something that is being taken away, trying to be taken away from us. And so voting rights is something that's very important to me, but I think it's all based on our lived experiences. I don't think we are monolithic people who all agree. We can agree on the basics, but our lived experience is what create this. Like the fact that I grew up in a home where my father was incarcerated, I care about recidivism. The fact that my mother battled stage 4 breast cancer, I care about healthcare. The fact that I grew up in a small town in a small school, I care about public education. The fact that I went to the greatest school, North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, I care about HBCUs. And so I think it all agrees and it goes in line with our lived experiences. But that's just a little bit, on me, but I'm passing all over.
And that's on the illustrious.
The
No,
greatest.
Deanna, this conversation is not for you, Deanna.
Oh, I'm just saying.
Thank you. It's the illustrious. It's not illustrious though. The illustrious Howard University. But we can go into anybody else got youth issues. I hate that word. Like, issues. You know what I'm saying?
I'd say what I've heard the most of and what I'm feeling as well is access to quality jobs that don't include necessarily going to college, people are feeling like if this isn't for me, then I guess I just don't have a place in the society. That's not the case. We need to really look at how we educate people and what we tell our peers what has value. And it's not always getting a 4-year degree. It's not all. It's about contributing grades to society, which I'm a huge advocate for. Skills training, vocational training, manufacturing, being made things being made in America used to mean something, and we really need to bring that back and really reconnect with our roots as communities. And what's so cool about social media is that we get that chance to reconnect again, to really talk to your neighbors, to talk to people and build those foundational systems, which, to be honest, America has never been quote unquote great, but our communities have been great, and that will make us great again. Um, Education, jobs, climate is huge. Like everyone's talking about AI, this, AI, that. We have an energy crisis we have not solved as a nation. We are on a powder keg that's ready to blow, and we're going to be the ones that end up with the mess. So that is the biggest thing. I'm looking forward to organizing with all of us to combat these issues and find solutions and really train our generation to fulfill these green renewable energy jobs and change the face of America.
Yeah, I think that's phenomenally said. When you consider the wage gap in this country, some people think about education as a barrier to earning wages that are livable in this country. And it seems a bit classist, elitist, because some people don't want to go to school. Some people also have been negatively impacted by the school to prison pipeline and wish to take a different path. And so to force us to go to school in order to access livable wages is injustice. So Harrison, I think that's a phenomenal point. When I think about what I'm sitting down with my friends, when I go sit down with my friends at their houses or at political action events, etc., we're having a conversation about the spiritual fabric of the country. We're having a conversation about healing the souls of the people in our country. We're having a conversation about healing the souls of the people in our communities. We Harrison's point is amazing. We think that the reason why a country could isolate and starve bodies of people is because their spirits, their souls are wicked. Because how could you watch your neighbor starve with a pure soul? How could you watch your neighbor starve with a pure heart? How could you watch your neighbor starve with a pure mind? I mean, look at the reaction to the injustices that we've seen on TV just in the past 3 to 5 days alone. You can look in the comment section to see how easy it is for anyone with a soul to resonate with pain, to resonate with agony, to resonate with a desire for justice. And so we think that it is, and I believe strongly that it is one of the primary concerns for young people is for us to heal the soul of our country, because without it, we will not see a response in the material experience of our country. We won't see a response in economic mobility. We will not see a response in access to education. And we have not historically seen responses in these areas according to the data, because the soul of this country, like Harrison said, has never been great. But the souls of our community, the souls of our communities, excuse me, throughout cities all around this country and countries all around this world has always been great. And so we're looking to continue to show up so that we can help heal the country and the rest of the world.
If I may, I think from my perspective, one of the biggest things that's challenging or that's like facing my peers or youth would be intersectionality. Mostly because I think intersectionality is a good thing, like, none of us are free until we're all free kind of thing. But as someone who's 21 and just moved to DC from Florida, DC is expensive, y'all. And balancing, taking care of myself, but I saw the faces, balancing taking care of myself, balancing, keeping the movement going, trying to stay up to date on politics, trying to network and expand my professional career. It's exhausting. It is absolutely exhausting. So trying to figure out the next steps for me professionally, trying to pay these bills, trying to feed myself, trying to take care of my dog, trying to make sure that my family is good, while also, making sure that I'm doing my due diligence and honoring people like Miss Massey, who just passed away, honoring, the lives that we have lost from Palestine, making sure that the momentum that we have from the Kamala Harris campaign doesn't lose power, but taking care of myself. So mental health, I'd say, is a part of that, but also just juggling what's going on because it's hard out here and it is expensive and we're not always supported unless we have an organization attached to us and then we're following their agenda, not ours. So what does it look like to sustainably keep the movement going and not burn out? I think that's a big thing for my peers right now.
Yeah. I think y'all touched on so many different things that are really integral to youth. And I don't want to lose that. So like as we close out the panel, I really want to take all of those issues that are like central to youth, like all of these things that we are expressing, like Ruquan and Tyleek were saying, who's going to hear us, like as we listen, as we ask to be listened to. um we said a lot has been said, and I want to put that against a question from the chat. In 2020, in the 2020 election, only 50% of people aged 18 to 29 voted. In your opinion, what are the barriers to preventing more of our generation from voting? And additionally, what are some of the solutions to the issue? So I really want you guys to like, what are we doing to solutionize to get the vote out for 2024? How are we getting 18 to 29-year olds voting? Why wouldn't they vote? And what can we do to talk to our friends, talk to our community, and talk to our people to get them out to vote as well?
I would start off with that. Like living in a Republican state, Republicans are doing any and everything to hinder people from voting here in Arkansas. Prime example, Arkansas is the most red state in the entire state, and Arkansas comes up with all types of things to get people not to vote. And my solution to it, number one, is continue to get people register to vote, do registration of voter drives with D9 organization, churches, businesses, whatever we could do to support people in voting. And in my area, I believe honestly that we will have more young people vote in this election. I'm very confident in that because number one, young people want to make a change at the local level, state level, and the national level. So I really believe that honestly, it won't really be a barrier this year in this election in states, in Democratic states, but in Republican states, we will face barriers because again, Republicans are always trying to find some creative way to not get to hinder people from voting, especially Black people. But honestly, as far as being a Black person, we have to wrap around in our minds that stop coming up with excuse of why we can't get to the polls to vote. Number one, but I just believe that in this election, I'm very confident that we will get more young people to vote in this election by doing voter registration drives, going to high schools, colleges, um, jobs, the whole 9 yards. I really believe that it really helped with the solution.
I love this question because it is very, I've been thinking about it a lot since we've heard this thing like there's an attack on our democracy. So I think that's a little bit of a misnomer. So we live in a democratic republic, and the only way our republic is truly democratic is when everyone has the real ability to cast the vote. So I think first, what I've been organizing and advocating for is making our voting, our election days, a national holiday, so that everybody, no matter what's going on, the world should stop for our where democracy is the foundation around the world. If we're going to claim that, we really need to own it. And that's part of that initiative is to make that a national holiday. The second thing is in Boston, we partnered with Uber and Lyft, and we give out basically discounted or free rides to the polls. It allows people of any socioeconomic background, or maybe if you just need a ride, or if your car broke down, whatever it is, you're able to get a Lyft or an Uber code to the polls, whatever polling location you have, and show up and cast your vote. And the reason I'll just piggyback back to why I believe uh, making our election, our voting days a national holiday, because for so many people, like let's say childcare is a huge thing. Not everybody has a stable place or can bring their kid with them to the polls. And we see that affecting people's ability to get to work. Imagine like work is up here for our country, and like voting is like down here. So I think we really have to be realistic in what we expect from people and honor that we all have a lot going on, and we need to show up and give as many resources and be as loud as we can to say that we need this to be a national holiday. Everybody that wants to vote should be able to vote. And even if you choose not to vote, that is your choice. That is part of the process as well. But everybody that wants to should be able to.
Yeah, I agree about that. I never thought about this idea about making uh voting a national holiday, but I'm definitely behind it. Also, it's phenomenal to see the partnership with Lyft and Uber because things like that making it easier for us to access voting is phenomenal. I'm gonna go back to a point I made earlier about listening because there are different classes of voters. There are different sort of sects of voters, right? And different sects of voters are saying different things. Now, some sects of voters have more power than others, whether it be because there are more of them in that particular section, or maybe it's because they have more history voting, or maybe it's because they have more economic power in this country. Maybe it's because they have more political power through their jobs or their networks. What can happen is there are sects of voters that don't have much social power or social credibility. And so then we will not listen to them about their voting preferences, their dilemmas in the political experience. So again, I'm going to really encourage us to, if we believe that democracy is on the line, if we believe that fascism is on its way, we must, in the spirit of love, in the spirit of democracy, listen to the least of these voters. Listen to the least of these voters. Listen to young voters. Listen to voters who, first time voters. Listen to people who are even suggesting that they're not going to vote. And before we give them remedy or suggestion as to why they should vote or why they must vote, even, hopefully we would listen to them. So I hope that as we think about voting, I see the concern. There's 100 people in here who want to save our country. I imagine that listening to people who are open to having discussion is going to actually help us achieve the goals that we have.
Thank you. No, guys, we definitely got to close out and get to the next segment of, I know, Victoria, like you was right there. Y'all was right there. My bad, my bad. We got to get to the next section so we can stay on time. Everybody who's here, thank you so much for your questions. Please, at the end of the call, we'll make sure that you're in. I'm sorry. Now we're about to segment into a section of the call where we can make sure you guys can get connected with us, these organizations, and the work. I see lots of questions in the chat asking, well, what do we do? Where do we go? Who can we get involved with? And then are some of you who are in organizations, some of you who are in NAACP, some of you who are in some of like RISE and other organizations, you're looking to do more. We got things for you. So I'm going to transition to William to introduce himself and his organization and tell you a little about Dream for America.
All right. Well, thanks, Channing. Hey, all, good evening. Thank you again, everyone, all the panelists, and again, Channing for moderating. And to the, how many are there? 105 people who are here with us tonight. It's really a great honor to be in community here with you. And you just being here and listening and taking, the hour of your evening to be here and listen is really just a huge part in your participation in our democracy. So my name is William Heen, and actually at just 17 years old, I'm about to turn 18, but I'm currently 17. I'm the CEO over at Dream for America, and our mission is to offer students a progressive alternative to Turning Point USA and win this sort of culture war that MAGA conservatives insist on fighting, for which who here knows what Turning Point USA is? For anyone who doesn't know, Turning Point USA is this really far-right conservative youth organization. It's founded by Charlie Kirk, might be familiar. And it's funded with hundreds of millions of dollars from all these billionaire donors, and they've got thousands of chapters everywhere. And what they basically do is bring the MAGA movement to our schools and online and everywhere else in between. And over the years, they've been pushing some really dangerous stuff to students, like getting rid of MLK Day, pushing Project 2025, abolishing the Civil Rights Act for some ungodly reason, busing college kids to January 6th, right? Telling, girls that they gotta hitch up with a young Christian guy, stay in the kitchen, and they gotta have 10 kids because the Muslims are taking over our country. This is a real quote, I'm not kidding. And just last week at the Republican convention, you heard people like Charlie and people like Vivek Ramaswamy say that the way that our generation can save America is by showing up at school and calling ourselves conservative and to start becoming Christians and to start worshiping the Bible. And so fundamentally, you have some really well-funded folks bring back racism, bring back homophobia and sexism and so much of the poisons of what our past is and bring that back into the mainstream. And look, there are a lot of issues that we have to address, right, that are, fundamental flaws within our country, but their solution is not about fixing the root causes and making this country a place where everyone has a shot to live their version and live authentically. Their solution is to blame immigrants, pit us against each other, police our lives and our culture, and anyone who doesn't agree is an enemy. So what we're doing at our organization is about showing young people that there is a better way, that this moment is not about agonizing, it is about organizing. It is about channeling your anger and your frustration into action. It's all about rallying young people across the country to defend democratic values and to support progressive policies. And so, if you want to get involved, we do that through our chapters, our digital community, and through hosting leadership conferences. Now we only got started a year ago, actually, and we've raised a whole lot of money. We have hundreds of volunteers in all 50 states. We've reached 100 million people on social media, and we were also involved at some degree with the Kyle Rittenhouse protests back in the spring when he was going on campus speaking with Turning Point. But now that we have a great team together, we have a lot of money behind us, we're ready to get on the ground and hit the ground running this fall and beyond. We've actually seen so much energy online and on the ground just this past week. We have had more people join our team this week than the last several months combined, and double it. And so this year, I'm feeling very hopeful for what we can accomplish. A big reason is because for our generation, right, we never got to vote for Obama. Many of us don't remember like how special 2008 was at all. All of the elections in our lives have always been campaigned on fear and hate, and this is the most important election of our lifetime. And in many cases, it is. But for the very first time, we are in a moment and we're experiencing a campaign in a country and maybe a future that is grounded in hope and opportunity. And so the candidacy of Vice President Harris is going to be, I think, our Obama moment. 2024 hopefully will be to our generation what 2008 was to a lot of millennials. So I encourage you that if you care about civil rights, if you care about our democracy, you care about fighting fascism, and you care about climate change and good jobs and good healthcare and good education, if you're angry about the future of this country and the direction that we're going and stopping these weird, crazy right-wing people from shattering our communities, then please join us in the work that we're doing at dreamforamerica.org. And I'll put that in the chat. I don't know if there's a way to do that, but I will type it if you guys like. Is there a way to do that, Channing? Okay, works. Okay. But it's dreamforamerica.org. You can get volunteered. You can start a chapter. You can join our team of creators. There's so much that you can do. But most importantly, I would encourage you to please don't sit out of this election, right? Even if obviously please do go vote, but even if you don't vote, please do get involved. Your voice matters, your vote matters. It's fundamentally a chess move for the kind of world that you want to live in, right? This election is about issues and not imagery. So climate change, women's rights, civil rights, voting rights, gun violence, all right, making the American dream possible for people who have never experienced it. That's what this is all about. And so in closing, I want to quote Vice President Harris. Don't ask for permission to lead. You just go ahead and lead. Um, so at the end of the day, a better world is still possible only if we choose to fight for it. So please do get involved, dreamforamerica.org. God bless you all. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's go ahead and get into my sir, Mr. Derek Lewis.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Derek Lewis. I serve as the interim national director for the Youth and College Division. It's 7 p.m. Friday, yeah, 95 degrees. We on this call tonight to get our people free. Hey, you know what I'm saying? But all in all, y'all, we are 101 days from the upcoming election. Whether we know it or not, we are the authors, we are the narrators, we are the ones that we've been waiting for. When it comes down to youth in this moment, in this movement in general, what I understand is that youth do have the power. You serve as the moral compass for this world, for the NAACP, for other organizations. But one thing that we have to understand is that it takes people for us to win. It takes all of us to win, and we all have to be all in. Our theme this year within the NAACP is all in, and that's not just all in on the issues that we're advocating for. That's not just all in for the NAACP internally, but that's all in for all of us external different organization, partner organizations, whoever you are as an individual, if you are GDI, if you're Greek, if you are if you are gay, if you are cisgender, whatever, all of us to fight for this upcoming election. Now, what I know is that people power helps us fight for the issues that matter most to us. But as the NAACP, we understand that people power helps us win the elections. It's the numbers that matter. Right now, we have a goal to recruit 300,000 volunteers, 300,000 volunteers to support us in turning out Black, infrequent, and new voters this year. What does that mean? That means precisely that you can volunteer at naacp.org. I'm going to drop a link in the chat for you all. You can volunteer with us right now. And once you volunteer, it takes you about 10, 15 seconds to do that. Once you volunteer, you will then get an email as far as the next steps. What we're asking you to do when you volunteer, you can commit 5 minutes, you can commit 5 days. Hell, you can commit 5 weeks if you want to, but take your time, figure out where you're getting your bread coming from, take care of yourself. But when it comes down to that, can you contact 5 voters? Can you contact 10 voters, 15 voters? And you get to choose of how you want to engage with them. If that's through text, if that's through phone, or if you actually want to get back to the old grassroots and pull up on them and to talk about door knocking, have that one-on-one conversation. We are in need of volunteers to support us this year. But most importantly, the reason why we're asking for people to sign up and support us is because that we know when it comes to community and peer-to-peer relational organizing, that people in the community need people to look like them and to talk like them and to connect with them as they are making those connections. Another theme that we have this year, again, with All In, is that I understand as the NAACP, we may be the largest membership-based civil rights organization in the world. And that's great. We have 28,000 youth members. That's great. Also, know the NAACP is not good in every hood, right? That's also a real thing. So working with our partners to expand our reach. How are we working with our partners to make sure that even though that we do sit in a privileged space, as a privileged organization at times, how are we expanding our resources? There's another link that I dropped in the chat called our Building Community Voice Fund. We understand that we ask organizations to work, we ask our own units to work and to turn out voters, but people say that we don't have the resources. We got the resources. If you apply, it's only for a very few specific states. You can click the link and you can see who are those states. But within those states, you can apply up to $10,000 for GOTV funding. If I had a teleprompter, I would say that's not a typo. But up to $10,000 for your GOTV funding, right? To support you in the work that you are doing, not for the presidential election, not for your state election, but for your local down ballot election, when we're talking about your mayor, when we're talking about your sheriff, when we're talking about your district attorney. Now, the thing is, even though this sounds good, favor ain't fair. You can put that in the chat. Favor ain't fair because it's only based off of those states that are listed. It's about 13 to 15 states that are listed. You check the link or go to naacp.org, Building Community Voice Fund. If your county is not listed, and you know that you have a local down ballot election where Black people can make a change, apply. Apply and we will work and we'll cross-reference the data to see, but it's all about making sure that we are all in for turning out the vote, not just to turn out the vote to have numbers, but we're all in to turn out the vote when it comes to gun violence prevention. We're all in when it comes from student debt cancellation, but not just cancellation, but college affordability. We're all in when it comes to ensuring that we have equitable and accessible healthcare. We're all in to making sure that we have an equitable life to live and the next generation does not have to go through the same problems that we went through. I'm excited to work with you all and be in community with you all. I hope to see you all at the post. Most importantly, I hope to see you all in the field to be doing the work with you all. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, everyone else, for joining this call. And Shannon, I'll kick it back to you.
All right, all right. Let's kick it to Rise and Miss Mary Pat.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mary Pat Hector, and I serve as the CEO at Rise, a organization that's mobilizing young people to exercise their political agency. We have a goal of reaching historic youth voter turnout because we understand that it's clear our freedoms are on the ballot. And as Channing mentioned earlier, like young people are terrified of what's at stake when it comes to the options that we have and the platforms that some of these political candidates are running on. And Rise organizes in what many consider swing states. So we're in Georgia, Arizona, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. And I will say, as a person who has been in this political atmosphere for some time, but literally just thinking about the past few months and the fact that voter registration was low across the board, all across the country, just the political atmosphere was in shambles. But since Sunday, 85% of newly registered voters following the president's announcement were under the age of 35 years old. And, I understand that for young people, it's not about the candidates, but it's about the issues, right? Like who's going to be in this seat that's going to protect our freedoms. And we understand that that's what's driving young people to the polls. And, really piggybacking off of some of the issues that the panelists mentioned. But in over 3 months, we have the power to make history. We are the largest, most diverse, and most innovative generation. Nearly 50% of the country's electorate for the first time in history will be under the age of 50 years old. And 41% of that number will be Gen Zers. Those are voters between the ages of 18 and 27. And that's real power, right? But that power doesn't mean anything if we're not leveraging this moment to ensure that our issues are a part of political platforms, that ensuring that our voices are heard and our issues aren't heard on debate stages. That power means nothing if we're not educating our communities on the importance of voting, and combating dis and misinformation in real life and online, as we head towards the election. And lastly, that power doesn't mean anything unless we vote. Within our organization specifically, we're committed to amplifying the voices of those at the margins by unleashing the youth wave. So internally, we're training over 5,000 paid student organizers within those states that I mentioned. We're staffing up, we're hiring over 200 additional student organizers. And when I say hiring, I mean hiring. I pay my team. Anyone who comes into contact with our organization receives a stipend or is paid a full-time or part-time salary. We're investing not only within our organizers, but also in our partner organizations. The political atmosphere has been very, very gruesome the past few months for smaller organizations at the margins. And so with that being said, we have been blessed as an organization to keep our doors open and continue to staff up. And with that responsibility comes reinvesting and pouring back into organizations that are on the ground, not just on college campuses, because I think that's where we miss up a lot. But doing the work, trying to mobilize as many young people in community as possible. And so we are launching an initiative called Run With It, where we are regranting funds to registered student organizations, but also partner organizations in community that'll range between $2,000 and $25,000. So when I say we're making integral investments in communities, that $25,000 could literally be what stops a small youth Gen Z organization from going under that does work that we need to happen in community. leading up into this election over the course of the next 102 days. We're mobilizing young voters and hosting activations on college campuses and in communities. And we need you. I will also drop our website into the chat. Oh, sorry, y'all. I didn't mean to put that there. We need you. I'm gonna drop our website in the chat so that you all can be a part of some of the work and initiatives that we're doing. Again, as Derek stated, we do have specific states that we also organize in. Again, those are some of those swing states that I mentioned. So Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Nevada, North Carolina. And I hope that you get involved with us. I look forward to getting through this election together and being in community with you. Thank you, Channing and Angelo, for having us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. Let's go ahead and get to Aryan.
Hey everybody, how are y'all? I hope y'all are well today. Thank you to this group for the invitation and to the amazing panelists. You all did a great job articulating what's ahead and what's at stake. I think one of the things that we focus on at Excel Leader and Vote HBCU is equipping HBCU students with the tools necessary to educate, mobilize, and empower HBCU students to get to the polls and to be involved in their communities. Since 2020, we have registered almost 4,000 HBCU students to vote through our campus activations. And what we just do is we kind of merge civic engagement and culture to really drive out some amazing things. And so Vote HBCU is around and it's doing some amazing things. And we're super excited about this election. But one thing I got to share with you all before I go is that Gen Z has the mic. And I think it's very, very important that we pay attention to the fact that every generation has had an opportunity to get the mic. And when we look at the past failures or successes of a generation, we have to understand that at this very moment, we got the mic. And so it's important that while you have the mic, that you do what Vote HBCU is telling all of these HBCU students to do, and that is to say it louder. You have your moment to say what you want to say, to create the country that you want to create. You have it all within you to do all of that in this moment. And so they're listening to you. And I think it's important that while you have the mic, that you say it louder, that you don't wait, that you don't hold back the mic, don't wait to the next election. We don't know if there will be one. Tomorrow is not promised to nobody. And so what we've got to do is we got to make it count this time so that the next time we do it, we can make it even better than next time. I'll say this and I'll be done. One of the other things that we cannot do while we have the mic is that we can't drop the mic after the election. For the past couple generations, we have dropped the mic. After we elected Obama, we dropped the mic. After these elections come with microphones. Your vote is your microphone. And so when you get done voting for somebody, you go back the same way you tell people that owe you $20 to cash app you back, the same way you tell people that owe you $10 to make sure you make sure the people who you casted your vote and invested your hope and your faith and your allegiance to this country to, you go back and you make sure that you keep them accountable for the things that they said they're going to do. And that's at every level. Anybody that you elect owe you an answer for some things that they did or did not do on your behalf. You have that power, you have that right. That is what this whole idea of America is that they keep telling you about. It's the idea that if I vote for you, you owe me something. If I vote for you, you owe me to look out for things on my behalf and not your own behalf. Because what we're finding now, and so many HBCU students especially, is that this generation is sick of the voting thing being about politicians instead of the people. And so what you have to then do is use the mic, use the moment to say it louder. And you got to do that at the polls in November 5th in about 100 days. But every day until then, don't be scared. Don't be nervous because they listening to you. Y'all got the mic, so say it louder. Thank you so much to this group. I'll drop some stuff in the chat. Y'all make sure y'all follow Vote HBCU. We just got 10 fellows from 10 schools around the country. Stay tuned. We got a lot of great information on the way. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that's all the I forgot. I think that's all the organizations. Other organizations going? No? Okay. Then it means it's my turn. Hi, guys. Again, my name is Channing Hill. I'm a member of the Youth Never Let Up Coalition. We are one of the lead organizers in organizing this call and our Million Student and Youth March in September. We're going to drop in the chat. And also, I know some of the messages haven't been making the chat. I see y'all. I hear y'all. We're going to send up a follow-up email to all the registrants with all of this information. But we are looking to take the momentum from this call, the momentum from the last 10 months in organizing from Palestine. We're looking to take the momentum off of the Stop Cop City protests. We're taking momentum from everywhere around us and building it and putting it all in one place and having all the youth to come together and say, here are our voices and here are our voices now. And we imagine that it'll be a 2-day mobilization in Washington, D.C. We can totally stay in contact because we need organizers, we need participants, we need marshals, we need sponsors, we need security, we need all of the above, we need speakers, we need a DJ, we need a singer who gonna sing the national anthem, all of that. We need you all to engage in this because there's nothing for us without us, and we can't do anything without all of us. That being said, I want to thank you all so much for being here on this call tonight. Again, we're going to send an email to all registrants with all of this information. And this concludes our first call. We may end up doing another call in the next 2 weeks or so. We'll see. But this concludes our very first conversation. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thank you so much for joining.
Night.
Good night, y'all.